Yeah, let's go.
Diving into the deep end. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line as he does every week on the show to talk about the world of movies, entertainment, and everything in between. Friends, it's Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
I don't know.
I was going to say, you know what? There is nothing but the deep end for us here, because that's us. That's this show. Some would say that's the world we live in right now. We're very accustomed to the end of deep.
All right, we're
Or
going
the endless deep.
Yeah, the endless deep. That seems like that should be a movie title.
Yeah, that sounds like a very, eldritch horror sort of story.
That or a romance novel.
Yeah. Oh, man. Or it doesn't even have to be shitty, but, that could be, a romance that's gone horribly wrong.
Let's dive into the real world of things we need to talk about. Talking about things getting blasted, we should probably talk about Borderlands first. That's coming out. We're actually going to be doing some time traveling this week. You'll have a full review of it towards the end of this podcast interview. But so far, this thing's getting torched.
Yeah, we have another case of, say it with me, folks, this film was not screened for critics. And the only big screening that there was a fan event / premiere that they had some press types at. And yeah, I am not hearing good things out of that one screening. And I think Lionsgate knew that. I think that's why we didn't get press screenings, and I wonder if they're regretting pushing Ballerina to next year.
I look at this movie as one of those things where you have a very popular video game series, and then all of a sudden movie producers think they can do it better.
Yeah, you've got the bare ingredients are something that I would be interested in. A Borderlands movie. Borderlands has been wild since day one. Not PG-13 wild, but much more wilder. You've got a great cast thrown in here with Cate Blanchett, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ariana Greenblatt, Jack Black as Claptrap, Florian Munson, a big nasty himself.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart, Gina Gershon. You've got names in here. And you've got Eli Roth directing, who's coming off of a horror hit with Thanksgiving last year. And then the trailers hit, and you can tell that someone in marketing really wants those Guardians of the Galaxy dollars.
Oh,
You've got ragtag team of Chosen Family, ELO music over the trailer, and quick, quippy little offbeat things because they're quirky. And it's I remember these games being rated MA, if I'm not mistaken, and being more hard-edged Mad Max meets space sort of thing.
Yeah.
And now you've got happy sunshine Guardians. If you take the name off, and if you took the name off, it might have just been a Guardians clone. But now that you've got a potential Guardians clone skinned over a Borderlands movie, this is the perfect storm of infamy.
I'm sorry, but anybody that doesn't see this and think, oh, we're doing a ripoff of Guardians, come on. Really? How can you look at this and not think that?
Yeah, since those first two trailers, it's okay, I can practically map this team out. You've got, all right, let's see.
You know what? Hold on a second. You know what someone should have done? They should have taken the trailer from this and the trailer from Guardians and synced it up together. And I am willing to bet that they probably sync up okay.
Sync it up how?
The action for scene and where the joke is and where the music kicks in and all that kind of nonsense. The building of the actual trailer.
Oh, I'm sure you could do that with plenty of trailers because that's just kind of how it goes.
So anyways, like I said, you're going to be going to see it tonight. So we'll get the full review of that coming up at the end of this. We'll do some time traveling and that sort of thing, get you recorded. But this movie just looks awful. Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line with me right now. But we'll bash this thing's brains out here at the end with the actual review. What other review, real quick? Excuse me, as we make our way down the list of things we want to talk about this week. House of the Dragon season 3, or season 2 wrapped up on Sunday. Mike has still not watched it, but I'm going to tell you right now, the two best things I saw about this was USA Today saying this could have been an email, and another guy saying, I'm glad we got a season, an hour-long trailer for season 3.
Oh.
It's crazy how perfect those sum it up. So
it's very interesting.
Dude, I don't know how you screw up. Well, I shouldn't say that because we saw the end of Game of Thrones, but like we were talking about yesterday, I would take the worst season of Game of Thrones over any of the seasons of House of the Dragon. I don't know how this is so well received by people.
I mean,
I don't get it.
My greatest guess is just comfortability. It's familiar to people. So I don't know.
You know what? I was going to try here, but I'm just not going
show.
to.
What?
It's one of those, I'm going to try to explain it, and it's like, you know what? I don't know. I don't know what's happening here. I get it.
I haven't touched anything Game of Thrones since that damn finale.
Yeah.
And it's been because of that finale. And I stopped being invested in this world when it stopped being invested in itself. And like high fantasy is something really hard to get me into because, and I haven't even finished season 1 of Rings of Power, and now everybody's talking about season 2. That isn't a unique case though, because my wife, who's a Lord of the Rings fan, is not into Rings of Power either. But it's like, that's when you know it's a problem. But as far as I'm concerned, it's like high fantasy is just hard for me to invest in at all.
No, I get
Game of Thrones had me for those 6 seasons. But then when the young king jumps off of the tower, that's pretty much where my interest ended. Season 7 just genuinely the bed. And then it just was, they wanted to rush to the ending. They were running out.
You okay?
Sorry, my cat stepped on me. My cat stepped on me.
Your cat's a Game of Thrones fan.
Clearly, he is upset about this too. What?
Your cat must be a Game of Thrones fan. You stop talking bad about Game of Thrones, Mike. Or, I'm sorry.
No, probably more like, I really don't want to deal with this. There's food over there.
Stop speaking ill of this human.
And there's another prequel coming. A Knight of Seven Kingdoms is happening because George R.R. Martin's never going to finish Game of Thrones, and you're going to like it.
Oh, boy. Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line with me right now as we make our way through it. We won't go too far into House of the Dragon. I don't get it. It wrapped up, and I don't know why I keep giving this show a try. And actually, you know what? I do want to say something because we talked about... I
don't know why you keep giving it air, too.
Because I keep watching the damn thing. I'm trying.
That sounds like a you problem, my friend. That sounds like a you problem. Meanwhile, we've got a movie coming out this week that's technically a literary phenomenon. It ends with us, which I'm hearing good reviews of it, but I didn't see it.
What are you talking about?
I'm kind of tempted to after It Ends With Us is Blake Lively's movie that comes out this weekend.
Okay.
And it's based off of Colleen Hoover's novel of the same title. And I think it's about, from what I remember, it is I'm just going to look up the synopsis now because this book has a fandom and I am not going to piss them off. I don't try to piss fandoms off, but sometimes it happens, and I'm sure Game of Thrones people are probably mad at me right now. I'm sorry, guys, but just not in it.
The Game of Thrones thing makes sense to me when it fell off the tracks. It's the House of the Dragon being so well received from people. It's like, oh, this is so good and well done. It is boring. They turned a dragon fight into a boring mess. It's just them walking around the cast.
That's the sort of smoke you should have brought right from the beginning here.
You turned a dragon fight boring.
You started talking about this, and you were just kind of like, eh.
Well, I got mad, okay? It broke through, and I got mad.
Good. You got to get mad about this. This is what they're feeding the fans, and it's like, you guys really think this is good?
Well,
like, even when some people are still like defending like some of the weaker MCU, it's like I respect people's opinions, and I do not try to speak ill of anyone. But it's like sometimes when people just look at me and it's like, oh, you just didn't get the Marvels because you have bias A and bias B, or maybe you just didn't realize the brilliance of the Eternals because this is like, no, I'm not as married to the source material as others are, and I think that gives me a sort of a fresh window into whether it's good or not, and I remember being bored to tears during those 2 movies. And Deadpool and Wolverine, while it was a lot of fun, does certainly have its issues, but it certainly doesn't have compared to the backbench that we've been seeing right now, it's a breath of fresh air.
I love Deadpool and Wolverine. We could talk about that more.
So
and
much fun.
I'd be fine with it. It's just, I love seeing the interviews coming out. I liked seeing the thing with Wesley Snipes talking about how he got brought back into it. Yes, Deadpool and Wolverine. Anyways, Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend
Yeah.
on the line with me right now. What were you going to look up?
I was looking up the synopsis for It Ends With Us, but just we've kind of
blew
skipped
past
over
that exit.
like
Okay.
like a rock over a pond.
Okay.
But since we mentioned Deadpool and Wolverine, we could talk about how Kevin Nash is kind of pissed.
Yeah, drop that because that's an interesting kind of story because Kevin Nash is a pro wrestler, actor. If you've never heard him speak, he's a very interesting guy to listen to.
And listen we shall, because he, among his acting credits, he was the Russian in the 2004 Punisher movie with Thomas Jane.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I spot this guy in the trailer, and it's like, is that the Russian from Punisher? And it turns out it was. But then watching the movie, like, even not being terribly familiar with Kevin Nash outside of this, I still didn't I still looked at the guy and was like, that's not Kevin Nash. That's not the guy from the movie. And then sure enough, Kevin Nash went on a podcast recently and said, that looks nothing like the character I played. That looks nothing like the Russian. It looks like they gave somebody a favor. And then he just has you can read this right up on CinemaBlend right now, and a lot of people are, because it's one of our top ranking stories at the time of this recording. But yeah, he's not, our headline says, he's not holding back, and he definitely is not holding back about this.
No, Kevin Nash is good like that. He'll give you the kind of his straight take on it. Now, whether or not it's always right or wrong is kind of up in the air, but he does give good interviews and stuff. You know what else he was in?
What?
What movie he was in? Had kind of a cameo, but not really.
What?
The second Ninja Turtles movies.
Who was he in there?
He was Super Shredder.
What?
He was Super Shredder.
I did not know that.
The mutated Shredder at the end that's just yelling and knocking down the dock.
I know what you're talking about.
You know, Ninja Turtles.
I know what you're talking about.
The fan favorite movie.
I love that movie. What? You mother.
Yeah, he was Super Shredder in that. What are you looking it up to see if I'm right?
No, I'm finishing a story.
Oh, okay. Glad all your attention's here, but as we're talking, I'm kind of doing some stuff in the background too. Mike Reyes.
I'm glad your attention's here too, Mr. Hollywood.
Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line with me right now as we talk about the world of movies and such. Let's talk Pacific Rim 3 or comic books or what's going on with this, you were saying?
I found out about this through an email because Legendary, the company that did Trick or Treat and produces the MonsterVerse movies, also produced Pacific Rim.
Okay.
And they are building their properties out through comic expansion. And one that's coming up is something called Pacific Rim Final Breach. It looks like they're about to do Pacific Rim 3 the way it was sort of pitched in the marketing for Pacific Rim Uprising and the post-credit scene we get in there. And it looks like they're going to continue it through these graphic novels.
Okay, that's cool. We were talking off the air about this a little bit, and I never saw Pacific Rim 2. And it's not because I didn't want to or anything like that. I just never did. It was one of those movies.
Yeah.
No, I'm down with this. The graphic novel stuff I like. I like when movies, do that sort of thing where they can expand on a story. Like they did it before a couple of the Star Trek movies, and I thought it was really well done.
Yeah. I mean, and especially when it's officially sanctioned.
Yeah.
Like when it's officially licensed, I think IDW does the Star Trek comics. I know they did at one point, but it's like when you've got the official backing of the studio and you've got people writing it and everything, that's a good thing. So this is rather promising that they have this property and it's in-house, so to speak, and now it's time to get moving.
Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line with me right now as we make our way through it, so we'll wait for that, and we'll see what happens with it. Fantastic Four, it was last week that I sent you the trailer for it, right?
Yeah.
So just to take everybody back in time a little bit, we got to talking about Fantastic Four because of Comic-Con and some of the stuff that came out. And someone had a video of the Fantastic Four trailer that they showed at the deal. I sent it to Mike, and the response was amazing. I'm actually going to pull it up here because it was pretty funny right after I sent it. And Listen, if you're looking for that trailer, good luck. It's been pulled down in a lot of spaces.
Oh yeah. This is not going to be easy to find. You probably can't find it at this point. Like, I even mentioned that in my
Here it is. Here it is. Here it is.
Michael Giacchino recently.
Oh my!
Yeah, those were my words.
That was really, really well done. But no, we were talking about when do we think this thing's actually going to be released, or not released? The trailer going to be released,
which is a fun sort of speculation you can engage in with a movie like this. And the way I was talking about it with you was, the earliest we might get this trailer is October. That I would assume they might try to put it in front of Venom: The Last Dance, bump up the box office figures a little bit, but also that's the next technical Marvel movie that's coming out. So that would be a nice advance gift. However, if they want to stick with a Disney film, you're either going to get this with Moana 2 at the end of November 27th, or maybe Mufasa December 20th. But I'm thinking between the end of October to the end of December, we might, because that's usually like a traditional window that you would release, that's a traditional window of time that you would use to release a trailer for something that far out, because the movie comes out next July 25th.
See, my initial guess was going to be Super Bowl, but then you see it's on Fox, and it's like, I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Fox is one of the assets that Disney doesn't own from the merger, but I think they still sort of play nice. And the most we would probably get during the Super Bowl is like, oh, yeah, watch the whole trailer online. And it'd be one of those ones that they release online probably a couple days before the big game. And they put up the trailer to remind everyone because, like, of course, ad space is at a premium.
Are you excited? You're excited for this movie, right?
I am excited beyond belief. This is the most excited I've been for a Marvel movie in a while. And that includes Deadpool Wolverine, because while I was amped for it, I was still kind of gun-shy because of the last couple movies and just it being a threequel and not being the biggest fan of Deadpool 2 after the first showing high wore off. But Deadpool and Wolverine did pull through, and it was really exciting. And I think that's part of why I'm still very much hyped for Fantastic Four. That and just the bare glimpses that we got from that potato cam TikTok video, because the video is not very clear, obviously, and it's not the whole trailer. Like, it's pieces of it.
Yeah.
So we still haven't seen the entire, just what I've seen of that was, if this trailer was online right now, I would probably still be watching it. And part of it is because of the theme that Michael Giacchino wrote for this thing. Like, the way he described it to me was he took The Right Stuff, Marvel, and the Disneyland Main Street Electrical Parade and mixed the three influences together to create that theme.
I just had a weird thought. The post-credit scene is going to be Robert Downey Jr., right? As Dr. Doom?
Maybe, but so what's really interesting is, have you seen any of the rumors as to what the movie's about?
No. But there was that thing
I don't remember.
Because they had that big hack, Disney didn't they? They lost like a terabyte of information.
Yeah.
So I wonder if is it in there?
I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is I saw reports that this may be following what they called the wrong Fantastic Four. This might be a family of imposters that we're following here.
What?
And I don't, like I said, I briefly looked over this thing, and it's like, that doesn't, I don't think that's what we're dealing with here. I can't totally write it off because who knows what Marvel's doing. But at the same time, it was like...
Scrolls.
Yeah, but at the same time, they said something about, like, one of the things in the report was like, this is a world where there are heroes, but they're, like, the most prominent ones. Meanwhile, I think it was Kevin Feige who said at Comic-Con, they're the only heroes in their world. Like, this is, like, they're kind of like the Iron Men of their world, so to speak, where it's like they're the first contact with metahuman abilities and excitement.
Okay.
So, unless this is a big misinformation campaign, I'm inclined to side with the person running Marvel Studios right now, provided I'm remembering that report correctly.
Providing I remember.
Look, I like to caveat my words because I don't want to look like a jackass.
You got to try it every once in a while. It's not bad. Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line. So we'll see what happens with Fantastic Four. I think that's going to be an interesting one to see what I wonder if that's going to be one of the movies they kind of test the waters to see if what they can do and what they can't do in this new Marvel world.
I mean, it looks like another Speed Racer, and that's what makes me so excited. Like, retro future, very colorful, very clean, like, designs, very just gorgeous, colorful, larger-than-life action. And it's like, we are not on our world at this point. And that's just, now that this feels like the promise of the multiverse. It's like a world that really pops. And like, we've seen some of that with Across the Spider-Verse and with Doctor Strange 2, for the most part. Those two movies feel like the ones that have really dug into the different looks of these worlds. And now Fantastic Four is just going to hopefully blow the lid off of it.
Okay. Mike from CinemaBlend on the line with me. Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line with me, talking about the world of movies. We're going to go back into sort of the world of wrestling with a couple stories. Let's hit the Hulk Hogan stuff real quick, because I think you're going to really enjoy the Rock stuff.
Oh, okay.
So what's going on with...
So Hulk Hogan...
Yeah, what's going on with Hulk?
So Hulk Hogan, a couple years back, sued Gawker, a gossip site that was in operation, and won. Because if I remember the case correctly, they leaked a sex tape of his.
Yeah.
Or it was alleged to be a sex tape of his. And, well, either way, a tape was published, and he won a lawsuit that basically killed the website.
Yeah.
And there's a whole book written about it. There's a whole bunch of history on it. And now it's apparently, there's been a movie in development since 2018 covering the story and through the book. And it looks like that project is now finding new life through Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, who are looking to develop the story into a movie. And Ben Affleck is rumored to be considering playing Hulk Hogan himself.
What happened to that other Hulk Hogan movie? The one that, what's his name was going to be
Chris
in?
Hemsworth one?
Yeah.
The Chris Hemsworth one was a deal at Netflix, and apparently the rights lapsed like the end of last year. But from what I had seen in the reporting, Hulk is still interested in him and Joker director Todd Phillips making this project. So I think they're still in touch with him, and they may just need to set up shop somewhere else. But that's another one that's been languishing, and it's like, well, maybe now that we've got these two movies together, could we see like a sort of competition that puts them, that kind of lights a fire under them to get them done quicker, and like we might have two really interesting Hulk Hogan movies coming around around the same time?
It's your Armageddon and Deep Impact summer.
Yeah, or your Bugs Life and your Bugs Life and Ants.
Yeah.
Look, you just release both of these movies in the same summer and let it be Hulkamania SummerSlam.
We don't need Hulk more. I've got enough Rock at WrestleMania right now that I don't need Hulk added as well.
Yeah.
And there's a reason I say that. All right, so we'll see what happens with it. That'd be an interesting story, especially because it's about a wrestler that it's not about wrestling.
That's another thing that's particularly interesting. So it's not like Ben Affleck's going to have to learn how to jump off a turnbuckle, unless they have flashbacks.
Yeah, there could be that, but it's also trying to find, like, is Hulk going to be a part of this? Because if it is, you can't trust the source material. So
far, he is not a part of the project, according to TMZ, and sources connected to him have said that he's supposedly not interested in. He's in a good place right now. He's not really concerned about it at the moment, but Hulk seems like he's more favoring the Hemsworth movie.
Huh. Well, we'll see what happens with that. Also in the world of wrestling and acting and movies and all that kind of thing. So there's this interesting story going out about The Rock and his team up with the U.S. Army and the UFL, the football deal.
Yeah. Now,
it's being reported on a couple different websites, internal review documents from military.com. Long story short, the U.S. Army had a deal with the United Football League and The Rock for about $11 million to try and boost recruitment, right?
Right.
So, and I'm reading the one from News Nation now. They had a breakdown of it, but he was supposed to put up 5 ads on Instagram about the Army. The UFL was supposed to show ads during games, and there was supposed to be some sort of like logo or something on UFL uniforms, right?
Yeah.
They're saying it cost them recruits. Like, this is how disastrous this team up was.
Oof.
That and these are again, this is from the article, the breakdown they did on News Nation Now, but $11 million deal was expected to bring thousands into the U.S. military. Requirements included him to doing jersey endorsements. It backfired and might have cost the department about 38 enlistments. They didn't get a single person enlist because of this. They were paying him $1 million, apparently, a post on Instagram, and there was nothing about it. It was like him visiting a hospital and, a picture with him and a couple of generals or something. And it was just disastrous all the way around.
That's not, when you lose recruits, that's a problem.
Yeah. I can't get I was going to pull up another one. Fortune.com had an article about it too, but it's, you have to pay to read it. So
it's like, are they afraid that their recruitment's going to be like The Rock's movie career? And it's like, you're basically showing up so much that it's like, can I just sit home for a little while, please?
Well, just think it was $11 million of taxpayer money to go to The Rock.
Oh, that's even worse. Guys, did you see the returns on Black Adam? Did I just pay for part of Black Adam? If I just paid for part of Black Adam, I want an interview with Pierce Brosnan out of the deal.
Oh, by the way, I finally watched Black Adam. That movie is garbage.
I'm sorry you watched Black Adam and didn't heed the scriptures that told you don't.
It was, I think it was on Max or something, and Jace turned it on, and I was just in the room, and I kind of started watching it, and it's like, this is awful.
This is cursed.
This is just
awful.
This is just you smelling your own farts wanting to be a superhero.
We really didn't have many moves right now, so we kind of played the cards we had at the moment, and yeah.
Anywho, if you get a minute, go in and read the full article about the Army and The Rock and the UFL team up, and delight in that for a little bit.
$11 million. Oh, God.
This is why, again, I don't need any more of The Rock. And I will say this, on the Jim Cornette and Brian Last podcast stuff that they do, they were talking about it the other day, and Brian Last said something really interesting about this whole situation, where one of the posts was him at a hospital seeing soldiers, right? So was it really not charity? You were there to see those guys, or were you just getting paid to go do this so you could put up a post? And it's an interesting thought. And you start thinking about it, and some of the stuff that's kind of out there about The Rock with some of the different stories and whatnot over the last year. And it's like, okay, I get it. I'm kind of done with this guy. This is why I want you to go away for a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, I don't mind The Rock, but it's like, take a break. It's like, the burnout is real. Like, burnout is definitely real. It's like, I get it. You're past the flavor of the week phase where it's like, you're in everything for 2 years and then you don't know what you're going to do next. And I get that the man likes to hustle, but come on.
Brian Last, he really likes to go after The Rock on this stuff. And if you get a chance, listen to him talk about it. But everything he says is pretty much true about it. So
yeah, I don't know about if everything's true because I haven't listened to it. But it's just, burnout is real, folks. You need to think as a brand, as a person, as a brand, as a person, as a brand. You need to think about what your next move is going to be. And if you have a blueprint, that's cool. But blueprints can only go so far, as seen by the Infinity Saga.
I remember what he said or close to it. He goes, every time The Rock does charity, there's a camera involved.
I'm not surprised.
So,
not like George Michael, where he's like, I'm gonna do charity. Don't put my name out there. It's cool.
Excuse me, Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line with me. All right, we'll pause it there. Excuse me, boy, the bar food's coming back up on me. We will do a little bit of time traveling, and we'll be right back with a full review of Borderlands and whether or not it lives up to expectations, fails miserably, or something in between. Is that cool, Mike?
Yeah. I mean, it's the only reason I'm seeing it.
Time travel complete. All right, here we are on Friday morning. Ooh. The time travel is complete. It had a Bill Cosby sound to it at the beginning.
No, see, I thought it was like you trying to speak like a European language and like mocking speaking a European language.
No. Like,
what really sold it for me was your time travel complete voice. That was nice, like computer process voice. Like, well played.
well, you know where I got that from? It's gonna sound so stupid. So
Where?
my son Jace, we had to go get excuse me, had to go get flu shots last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the kid is scared to death of getting a shot, right?
Right.
So, long story short, I was trying to get him to laugh about it and have a good time with it. And I did, what if it was like this giant machine that like gave you the shot and then goes, flu shot complete. And he laughed at it. And then we went and got the flu shots. And the lady's getting ready to do his. And he looked at me and he goes, Dad, I am not ready for this.
Oh, buddy.
So I said, you're no son of mine. You're going to ride home by yourself with some stranger.
I figured you'd say that.
I will have no coward as a son now.
You can walk home, you little son of a bitch.
Pretty much. Anyways, Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend's on the line with me right now. We are talking, you went and saw Borderlands last night. Now, just to bring everybody back around, when last we talked about this, the reviews for this were not good. I have seen...
No.
And they're still not good today. I mean, I've seen a few different reviews of this. I've seen people like in the video game world talking about this, talking about what just an absolute show of a movie this is. It doesn't speak to the nature of the game. It's a bad representation of Borderlands and what the video game meant to people. Now, that being said, Mike, what did you think of it?
To start, I would not be surprised about the accuracy of that statement because I really haven't played Borderlands. I have to caveat this with I haven't really played Borderlands. I've maybe played like the first couple like challenges in the game because it's one of those open world Fallout sort of games. It's not that I haven't been interested. It's just other games got in the way, I guess. I don't know, but I definitely don't remember the games being this sort of friendly.
Okay.
Like it's very much a Mad Max F you and I sort of energy where it's more sarcastic, more biting, more destructive. I don't think this is a movie that's going to please the game fans, and that's just me armchairing it here.
Okay.
But with that in mind, it's not a bad movie.
What?
It's like a solid 3 out of 5.
Wow.
So, and I said that the other reason I give this movie credit for how watchable and it's it's fast paced, it's entertaining. And the other thing that I give this movie credit for is it's been sitting on the shelf for almost 2 years. There were reshoots with another director because I think Eli Roth had scheduling issues because he was making Thanksgiving at the time. So they brought in Deadpool 2's Tim Miller. I think Deadpool 2 was Tim Miller. But yeah, it was basically, Deadpool 1 director Tim Miller came in for reshoots. The marketing did not do this any favors because it really leaned into the Guardians vibe. It doesn't feel like the Guardians ripoff I thought it was going to be. It's definitely tipping its hat and trying to be a Guardians sort of movie, but it feels like it's paying homage rather than just, we have to be Guardians, we have to be Guardians. And you can see some similarities in the characters, especially with Cate Blanchett's Lilith and the arc that she goes through. It's very much Star-Lord from the first two, but it's like tipping the hat rather than stealing the bag.
What's funny about this, I'm both shocked and not shocked that you liked it. Because we talked about this a little bit afterwards, that there's been some movies that I thought you were going to do legitimately hate. And you came in, wasn't that bad.
Well, yeah. And this is another one of those cases that you and I like to talk about where it's like if you take the Borderlands name off of this, people would probably like it better. But when you put a name like Borderlands on something like this, first of all, you're attaching video game movie pedigree onto this. And that's something that's still shaky, even though we've seen really good video game adaptations as of late. But then you're just attaching the pedigree of the specific games to the movie. So it's like, okay, Borderlands, the movie versus the game. And then fans are going to be like, oh, this. And like this was something where I'm trying to look at, I forget who it was that removed their name. Craig Mazin. So this is the man that has not only given us Chernobyl, but also gave us The Last of Us. He was one of the writers on this movie, and then the way that things shook out with the reshoots and the rewrites, he took his name off of the project.
Okay.
So now there's another name in there on there in place of his name. But considering all of the stuff that this movie went through, considering all of the hoops, and then all the negative press that went on to this when I went in, it genuinely felt like fun. I mean, even Kevin Hart is restrained in this. It's not just Kevin Hart mugging for the camera and doing his shtick. He's a solid, stoic lead. And, of course, Ariana Greenblatt is one of the MVPs in here. Florian Munteanu, Big Nasty himself. Those two are a lot of fun as Tiny Tina and Krieg. Kate Blanchett still has my heart. And she is amazing as Lilith. She looks amazing as Lilith. I want her to get more action movies, to kick more ass, if she's, into that. And Jamie Lee Curtis is also just amazing. Like, there's solid performances. It is a get from point A to point B movie with fun, but it definitely feels like the soundtrack's a little bit dated because, again, they're trying to go for the Guardians thing. I can't think of the last time I heard How You Like Me Now, but that features in here. Superman's Black Hole is in here.
By The Heavy?
No, by Muse.
Oh.
Wait, How You Like Me Now?
How do you like me now? Have you ever heard that song?
That one, yep.
That's The Heavy.
Yep.
Who has
that was in there. Yeah.
Who has a song in what was the thing on Netflix with the Sandman?
The Sandman?
Was that the name of I can't remember if that's the name of the deal or whatever.
With Death?
With Dream, and he's the
that's the Sandman.
Yeah. Anyways, the bad guy in that, he puts on his sunglasses at the end or whatever, is driving away, and it's Big Bad Wolf, and it's by The Heavy. It's the two songs I know from that band. Sorry, you just made me think of that.
That's okay. Dude, sometimes you got to chase the rabbit. I totally understand. I do the same thing. You bow to no one, my friend.
Or as Vin Diesel would say, I bow to no man. He's not a man. He's the holy half undead. I know way more lines to Riddick. That's Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah, that's not Borderlands.
No, I know. I said like Riddick would say, I bow to no man, and then I went into the scene.
Yeah, I know. I was just with you.
Jesus.
Anyway, I still need to see Chronicles of Riddick.
You've never seen it?
I've only ever seen Riddick, the third one.
Pitch Black, really good and a really cool, interesting take on a sci-fi movie. Okay, highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Chronicles, you have to. You know how we were talking about off the air with Transformers 1 and some of these other projects out there where they're trying to create lore in a world, and sometimes they get it right and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Chronicles of Riddick tries to. It goes from like really cool, simple sci-fi movie to this really wide open world. And it's like, oh boy, you bit off a lot in this sequel, and now you just plopped him down in a completely different world.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of, we could have a Riddick talk all damn day if we really wanted to, because I think that's kind of the fun part about it. And that's why I'm glad he's still making Riddick 4. Like, Vin Diesel, when he's passionate about something, he's like us.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised. I don't know if Vin Diesel's neurodivergent, but I would not be surprised. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing for him, because he's like us, where if he's focused on something and he wants it, he goes for it. And that is something that I've always admired. And like, you can tell when he's given it the extra mile.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch Find Me Guilty, that is a rare bird when it comes to Vin Diesel movies, because it's a comedy drama where he's playing a schlubby mobster, but he's got such charm in it.
Yeah.
And he's got such a good performance in this movie that it's like, I want more of that Vin Diesel.
Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend on the line with me right now. Let's get back to Borderlands real quick. So you thought it was better than what you thought?
Yeah, I thought it was solid. I mean, like I said, some of the caveats are the soundtrack just feels a little bit like they're reaching for the Guardians, greatest hits. We're going to sell 1 million records with this thing sort of compilation of like, it's okay. If anything, I like the musical score better than but the soundtrack isn't really that prominent, so it's not like it's a stumbling block. And then some of the dialogue is a little bit cringy, but then I noticed there's stuff that was cringy in the trailer that isn't in here. Like Tiny Tina's line about, we've got the they don't baby girl, damage. Like they changed that, and it cuts to well, it doesn't cut, but it goes to Kate Blanchett getting a cute little line about, oh, what, you've got spirit and heart and blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, I like where you pivoted with this. I like what you've done. There's also some places where it feels like the edit, there's something missing in the edit. You can tell that this was reshot and re-edited and retooled, but it's not something that pervades through the whole movie. But it's something like, especially in the beginning, there's a moment where it's like, whoa, what? This person's knocked out now? I did not see anything thrown at them to knock them out. What happened here? But Eli Roth knows how to make a fun movie. All right. And even with all this thing's complications, it's fun.
Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend joins me every week. I wonder how many fans of Borderlands you just pissed off talking well about this movie.
But at the same time, I honor the fans' complaints because this does not feel like the Borderlands I remember being. I think Borderlands was an M-rated game.
Yeah.
And you're making a PG-13 blockbuster out of an M-rated game. Okay. It's not a perfect movie, but it's not fundamentally broken that I can sit here just picking blah, blah, blah. Like I said, 3 out of 5. We're on trap level here.
Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend joins me every week to talk about movies. We'll leave it there. Mike, you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
You too, sir.